Nick Wright joining us live.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Colin?
Yeah.
No, I know you don't. No. You can't put that out there and then just. We have to. You just gave your 10 best American cities, and you had Fairbanks, Alaska, and Bentonville, Arkansas, 2 and 3. Like, huh? What? Like, wait a second here. First of all, did Brandon Staley defraud a family member of yours or something? His quarterback is Justin Herbert, a guy who I think you picked to win the division last year, and you don't even have it in the top 10. Sounds like you don't have it in the top 12, so you really don't like that coach. But there's Matt Stafford being number 2 on this. McVay's a really good coach. Is he the second best coach in football? Maybe. I would say closer to 5 than to 2, but he would have to be the second greatest coach ever. For a him-Stafford combo with Stafford in his mid-late 30s coming off a major injury to be number 2, and we all love Sean Payton. But Russell Wilson and Sean Payton are number 3 on your list? Come on, man. That's bad. That's a bad list. There's just a bad list. This is outrageous.
Outrageous is exactly what I thought. I could say 10 things in America that are outrageous today. Matt Stafford being on a list is not one of them. He's 5,000 yards.
This will be the most outrageous thing said in America today. This list. This will be it.
No chance.
Doug Peterson and Trevor Lawrence have to be number 2. John Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson have to be higher. And Staley and Herbert have to be on the list somewhere. They got to be on there somewhere.
Trevor Lawrence he's so young I wouldn't let him babysit my children. He's a kid. He's like barely a teenager. You can't put him on a list above Russell and anyway. Okay.
Russell? But Colin, I thought you had gotten over the Russell Wilson infatuation. It turns out just a fresh coat of paint and in the flavor of a new quarterback, and you're all the way back. You're just all the way back. But go ahead. Sorry, I hijacked your show, but I just couldn't believe what I was seeing.
Well, maybe it's the power of Sierra. I don't know. I just think Russell, I'm going to give him one more year. I'm going to give him one more.
You did see Sierra at a party once, and you claimed she glanced at you, and ever since then, it's just your analysis has been haywire. But go ahead. Sorry.
So I said about Dame is that there's this feeling, and maybe it's because Miami was in the finals. We love Spoelstra. We love Jimmy Butler. That's the fit for Dame. But if you go back to the last 10 championships, Dame would be 33 next year, Butler 34. There is no champion where both your stars are in their 30s. Giannis would be 28. Dame, aging fast because of small athletes had injuries, would be 33, 34. And they could also give Portland what they haven't had forever, a viable forward, Chris Middleton, who can hit a basket. Is that we believe that Miami's wonderful. They just give Portland another guard. They've got a surplus of guards. They don't need Tyler Hero. I think Milwaukee's a better trade partner. What say you?
Oh, I think that's a great point. That for Dame, what team could add Dame realistically and be the most formidable? Yes, Milwaukee. Milwaukee might be the best team with respect to Denver. Denver gets to, they're the champion and they are the deserved favorites in Vegas. But if someone said, I'm picking the Bucks as is, bringing Middleton back to win the title, next year, no one's going to say that's crazy. We know how great that team can be when they're fully healthy, and it would be an upgrade going from Middleton to Dame. I don't think that trade makes any sense, though, for Portland, not because of the positional fit. You're right, they could use a reliable forward, but because of the age. If I'm Portland, why do I want aging Chris Middleton as opposed to the young pieces Miami can give and probably better draft picks down the road because Butler and Dame are older? Those Milwaukee picks are always going to be limited in their value because of Giannis's age. So that cuts against it. The other thing that cuts against it is I don't think Portland is going to ship Dame somewhere he absolutely doesn't want to go. And I think Dame, it's not only because Miami's Miami, and with respect, I'm a Midwestern guy, but Milwaukee's Milwaukee. It's also, I think Dame wants to be, at least arguably, the best player anywhere he goes. Now, I think Jimmy Butler is a more valuable playoff performer. I think that's been proven, but Dame's a hell of a playoff performer, has 2 of the only buzzer beaters to win series in NBA playoff history. He's an excellent player, but that would at least be an argument. Who's the best player on the team, Dame or Jimmy? If you team up with Giannis, you are clearly a number 2. So I agree with you from a basketball standpoint, that would be a great fit, just like Philly would be a great fit for Dame alongside Embiid. I just don't think that is, if they do finally pull the trigger, a place they're going to send him. But I agree from that perspective, they'd be the instant favorite.
So I saw a piece of video made the rounds, and it's kind of embarrassing that it gained any oxygen. Victor Wembanyama was shooting jumpers, couldn't hit in the end. I'm like, guys, he's... Come on, this is silly. But I do think he'll get pushed around. He'll be a target. He won't be surrounded by much. You'll be able to collapse on him. I mean, he'll be the target every night. Stop Victor. Popovich is old school, pretty demanding, a lot of pressure. I still think 21-10, 21-7 feels realistic. What do you think is realistic for Victor Wemby?
So listen, I said on the show that I think he'll average 19 points, 8 rebounds, lead the league in blocks. And I was told I'm being far too pessimistic, that I don't believe in him enough. I said yesterday that I think he will be an above average number 1 overall pick who has a better career than Anthony Davis and make the Hall of Fame. And I am on the furthest negative end on the Wemby discourse, which speaks to me that the Wemby discourse has gotten a little insane. And the reason why I thought the footage of him missing those jump shots is noteworthy is only in this regard. I think the average fan, because of the highlights they've seen of the step backs and the one-footed threes, thinks this guy is like we're showing right now, a pure jump shooter. And he does have a pure looking shot. And he is a very good free throw shooter, which makes you believe he one day could be. But last year in France, he shot 28% from 3. This year in France, he shot 27% from 3. I say all that to say, I think he is a big work in progress offensively. And when we talk about the rookies that have stepped into the league and been instantly in the conversation for the best player in the league, it's a short list, but what they all have in common is they were multi-year college players. Duncan played 4 years. Kareem played 4 years. Bird played 4 years. Magic, I guess, is the outlier, but Magic, despite the great finals game, was not the best player in the league. He wasn't the best player on his own team in 1980. LeBron was unbelievable as a rookie and averaged 21, 6, and 6. The idea that Wemby's going to come in and just take over, I think it's unfair to him. And I think that if this kid, 10 years into his career, has 1 MVP and 1 championship, and folks consider that a disappointment, that means we're setting the young man up to fail. And I don't think that's fair to him.
So I went back to Des Bryant, Stephon Diggs in Minnesota and Buffalo, and Antonio Brown. And I would consider them. I did not count OBJ because I don't consider him high maintenance. He was fine at LSU.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
He was fine early in New York. He was fine in Cleveland. He was fine in LA. I don't consider him a diva. I think in New York it went a little sideways. He became a rock star. New York's done that to a lot of young athletes. Jeremy Shockey. Sure. I could name multiple players. So I don't consider OBJ high maintenance. I just think I wish he was healthier. But I took Antonio Brown, indisputable. Stephon Diggs, now second place, indisputable, and Des Bryant. And in all of them, they were easily, in the last 2 years in Dallas, last 2 years in Pittsburgh, last 2 years in Minnesota, and last 2 years in Buffalo, overwhelmingly the number 1 target, and yet complained they weren't getting the ball. Is it possible, Nick? We've all had somebody like this in our life. They're high maintenance. We've had somebody in our life that keeps asking, and you try to please, and they're never happy. And this could unravel the Bills.
Oh, yeah, of course it's possible. The Diggs thing is super concerning. Not just because the head coach said, and I quote, "It's very concerning very concerning. And then oddly, end quote, and then oddly, the next day said, why are you guys making a big deal out of it? By the way, practice tomorrow's canceled. The whole thing was weird. But the other reason it's weird is this, Colin. He has been the most targeted wide receiver in the league, or in the top 2 over the last couple years, and he just got a new contract. So if it's not targets and it's not money, how do you fix it? And that, to me, is for a Buffalo team that everybody thinks that, you know what I mean, oh, Nick Wright just hates the Bills. Why would I hate the Bills? I have no reason to hate the Bills. You know what I hate, Colin? Unfairness in sports media. That's what I hate. And this Bills team, having been crowned this multiple-time Super Bowl champion with having done nothing, bothers me. And if we were being fair and honest, we would say this team is on a very clear trajectory, and it's in the wrong direction. In 2020, they made the AFC title game. Their quarterback finished second in MVP voting. In 2021, their quarterback had a rough start to the season, then a brilliant finish to the season. They lost in round 2 in heartbreaking fashion. In 2022, their quarterback's final 2 months of the year were the worst 2 months he had had in 3 years, and they lost in round 2 in blowout fashion at home. That is going backwards down the stairs. And now, heading into 2023, you have Leslie Frazier walk away kind of under odd circumstances. I'm not retiring, but I'm taking a year off. You have the head coach taking on more responsibility as he's now going to be the D coordinator. And you have Diggs and Allen, your 2 most talented players by far on the roster that are healthy, because Von Miller's there, at odds with each other. And you add to it, they gave Von Miller, at 33 years old, coming off an injury, 6 years, $120 million, knowing that contract wouldn't age well because they were trying to win immediately. And his first year there, he blows out his knee, and now we'll see what he's like in year 2. And then that instantly becomes a bad contract. And, oh yeah, by the way, it might be the toughest division in football. There should be massive concerns about what's happening in Buffalo. And, you know, some of us have been sounding them for quite some time, yet we were called a skeptic and a hater and all these things. I've only been right about it.
Hey, for the record, I said this morning, Hard Knocks, 7 of the last 10 teams haven't made the playoffs. I said prickly quarterback, impulsive owner, coach on the hot seat, brutal early schedule when you're trying to create some inertia. Don't love it for the Jets. What was your takeaway on Hard Knocks? Jets looks like inevitable.
Yeah, if I were the Jets, I wouldn't love it. No, of course not. I mean, I just don't see an upside to it. I see upsides. It's not often, but like with the Lions, there was an upside. They're a team that became somewhat of a fan favorite. Their coach, I think, added job security that was necessary because America kind of fell in love with him. And it was a team that no one was discussing that then became a part of positive conversation. The Jets, once they add Aaron Rodgers, were already going to be one of the most talked about teams in the league. And now you have the added scrutiny of it and a head coach that I think is going to be under real duress, especially, and I understand Hard Knocks ends before the year starts, but especially if the year doesn't start great. And the Jets' final half dozen games are about as soft of a schedule as you can have. I believe the Jets could be 5-6 or 6-5 through 11 and still make the playoffs because of the end of the year. Yeah. The worry is if it starts 1-4 or 2-4 or 1-5, are they going to be able to handle those choppy waters? Because you're correct. Those opening 6 weeks are all over national television against some of the best teams in the league. That is not how, if I were the Jets, I would want to start this Aaron Rodgers miniature era.
Nick Wright, first things first. Dapper as always. Good arguments. Didn't like my list, but we don't agree on stuff all the time, so that's okay.
It's a terrible list. America, I challenge you. Find something more outrageous set on television. Any network today. You won't. I mean, give me a break. Number 2, Sean McVay and Matt Stafford. Okay, no problem. See you later, Colin. Bye.
All right, buddy. See ya.